Going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good one, even though 9 7 10. Hey, I know that's the case, but you gotta keep on thriving, you gotta keep on getting better, gotta keep on living. We're changing it up. We are in the living room. A whole different vibe, a little bit of a more cooler, more warm vibe to it. But today's topic is very specific, and I think it's gonna be for a lot of the military people out there. People that also watch it that aren't military, you guys can get a lot out of it as well. So keep in mind with that. But it's definitely for the people that are in or about to be in, and they're going through it or they're trying to figure it out. So one of the biggest things I want to touch up today is when it comes to knowing what you really want to do in the military, right? Knowing where you want to be, where you want to go, right? I feel like, and this could vary for different people, but for the majority, a lot of the kids that come in that are young, like me, they come in and we've never experienced a lot of certain things that, a younger teenager is supposed to experience, the whole going out, maybe partying, stuff like that, going to college, doing all that. I did college for a little bit and I kind of got that little taste, but, you go through that, right? You go through that whole phase of just going out to your first base, you're going out, you're drinking, your stuff like that. And, you're enjoying it, you're experiencing it all. But there comes a time where, that dies out. Like, it's boring, And one thing with the military that they do a good job at sometimes, but at the same time not really, is when it comes to knowing what you really want to do on the outside, right? The military knows they're going to have you in for a certain amount of years, but what they, make sure is obviously the mission. They keep the mission first, and that's 100% understandable, But a lot of these people that come in, they don't come in thinking that. A lot of them come in just being like officer in circumstances, So it's really understanding, what are we doing these 4 years of our contract? What are we trying to get out of it? Are we trying to go to school? Are we trying to, do that side hustle? Are we trying to start it? And for the people that want to start something specifically, especially if you're already in the military and you're just kind of floating around and you really want to, you see so much of these people on, social media, and that plays a big part of it. A lot of people, times we look on social media, we see so many people our age doing crazy stuff, and they're able to, do insane, things, and a lot of success out of it, right? And this is a very generic saying, but it gets to you, and you're like, how come I can't see that? Or how come I'm not able to be around that? And then you build that bitterness and you build that sort of resent of being in the military, which you shouldn't be in that. But everybody goes through it. I went through it. I had a mode where after I had my whole partying phase and I was kind of upset, I was like, man, I wasted my time. I was like, well, I want to start a business. I want to start my photography thing. I want to push it. And I was getting mad as to why it just wasn't working. I would get messages of people like, hey, from word of mouth, like, hey, I'm interested, like, I want a photo shoot. And then you get mad because, they don't have the funds that you're looking for, and they're not valuing what you value yourself. And so you get into that zone where you're like, man, like, I don't understand why these people don't want to pay, the price that I'm willing to work for. And so you go through a lot of it, and especially people that are trying to start just something in general in the military. They're trying to start, the clothing brand, trying to start all this stuff. You have the ideas, you have everything out there, you've seen it, you've seen other people do it, so you feel like, man, I can actually do that, but you don't have the right environment around you. So to overall give you a recap out of this, the main reason why a lot of people end up not doing anything while they're in the military and more or less just doing their job and kind of having that bitterment and sort of that stereotype of, like, oh, I can't wait till I leave or something like that, especially if it's not your career, it's because you're not around the right people. And that's the biggest thing, your environment. You're around a lot of people that either, they did 20 years, or they're about to do 20, or you have some people that, they just had to keep on re-enlisting because they needed to. They had no choice because they were stuck, and then you have so many different personalities, so many different people from walks of life. So it's hard to really find the right people to be around, so then you could start knowing more. Because the overall end goal out of what I realized is the more you know, the more you know. And when you know more, you're able to do more because you know how to do more, if that makes sense, So what I realized is, and this is how you could sort of fix that, right? This isn't a get quick, rich scheme or anything, or a quick fix. But for the people that are absolutely, even in airmen's or anybody, just in the military, if you are trying to build something up for yourself, what you need to do, first of all, is you need to outreach. You need to go on social media. You need to start seeing if there's anybody around you in your area that is actually doing what you're doing. When you get in contact with them, right? Build a relationship. And after that, you got to start reaching out to people that you're seeing in your area that are very successful, or even outside of your area. You keep on reaching out. The more you reach out and the more you start thinking like, man, I need to be around the right people, you start to realize there's certain little hints that come out of nowhere that just basically fall in your lap. And you might not know if it's a hint or not. So you have to catch them, I was like, I just moved off base finally after being in the dorms for so long. But even in the dorms, I outreached. I went to networking events outside. I went to conferences. I tried just being active on social media. And I got so much out of it just because I was constantly pushing for that, right? And as an example, I was looking to find people around, my area, my town, that had sort of, the business aspect, the business mindset. It didn't matter what industry. And I kid you not, when I thought of it and when I wrote it down, 30 minutes later, I had a letter that came in my mail. And I opened it, right? It's a very personalized letter. And it seemed like it was somebody that was trying to buy the property. So I was like, okay, that's interesting, Maybe it's somebody that I can talk to and just learn about their industry and maybe see how I could help them or just in general. And lo and behold, hopped on a call with him. It was a very interesting conversation. It was solid. We had the same mindsets and everything. I went out to a networking event with him, and now we're just back and forth texting each other. And it's that right there, right? One of my mentors said this, right? You could work in your craft till you die, right? But if you don't have a group of people that you're building up together, it's not fun. Like, when you find people around you, and I'm gonna give you an example with this, right? Your environment will only sort of dictate what you believe in, if that makes sense. So if you think about it, right? A little fishbowl, you're in a fishbowl, and you've been in that fishbowl for almost all of your life. But you don't realize that there's other bigger fish bowls out there, right? But you only live in that fishbowl, so you don't know any possibilities outside of that. That's what I'm saying, right? And what you think is your value and what you are trying to help people out with and what you're trying to run as a business, you might be in the wrong environment to where people don't value your work. But you need to find the environment that people do value that work. Because then when you find that right environment, that's when you see opportunities. That's when you see a raise in pricing. That's when you see, everything paying off because you are in the environment that you should be. But with the military, it's very hard, because a lot of times we get off of work and a lot of people have very strenuous jobs or strenuous hours. But one specific thing I learned with this, right, is when you get off of work, I know you're tired. I know you're ready to go. But thing is, and I'm not religious or anything, I'm slowly getting into it, but when you are say back home, right, nothing going on, when you are in a state of quietness, that's when the devil's there. The devil's ready to, just plant his seeds. But if you keep on constantly keeping yourself busy and keep on constantly developing yourself and you're consciously doing it, you have no time to sit down and sort of think and then have all those bad habits come in. Because when you sit and you just don't do anything and you just waste life and you're just on the video game, stuff like that, that's when all those bad habits come. But the moment you start constantly trying to at least do something towards your industry and expecting nothing in return out of it, but just expecting, development, that's when you start losing all those bad habits. That's when everything starts getting easier. And then the moment you start finding people that are in your area, and as long as you can keep up with them, and as long as you guys can keep accountability with each other, that's how you grow and that's how you keep on going higher. But I rambled on for too long. It's probably about like 10 minutes right now. But this is for anyone, more or less military, right? If you want to make the military a career, by all means, go for it. Go for it. Reach for the stars. Get chief, get even higher than that. Network with people out in whatever sort of government system you could find. Find a way to get to where you want for your military career. Because the military is an incredible thing. It was one of the greatest things that have ever happened to me. And it wasn't until now, I realized, I was so bitter. I was so bitter about, oh, they're not doing anything with their life. Yes, they are. This is such a huge mission. Everything that goes on in the military, it's huge. It's bigger than you think. And that's the big thing that a lot of us don't realize, and a lot of us sort of downplay it. But, if you want to make the military a career, go for it, but just do more than everyone else. Do your job so well that you have the leverage to where you can start leveraging yourself outside of your job. Once you start getting into that, that's how it works. Right now, I'm sort of starting in the beginning of my job, right? New office, new environment, so I'm learning how to do everything. I'm still trying to get there, but once I have the leverage and once I know my stuff, that's when things work. Think about this, right? I watched this podcast, How to Take Over the World, and it was Vladimir Putin's sort of thing, and I'm probably gonna botch kind of what happened, but I'll give you a whole synopsis of it. So basically, he started probably in the lowest tier of agents out, back in the, in that government, whatever it is. But he worked hard. He worked as hard as he could, and he didn't ask for anything. He completely just did his job. And then after that, he slowly started having that leverage, and that's how he started scaling up each department to where he was able to, take over the whole thing. Obviously, there's a lot to that, and you know how it is, which it's a whole different thing. But aside from that, the military is a great tool, and it's a great career to go through. Don't think, don't get mad at yourself because your business is not working, so now you're going to blame the military for your actions, when actually there's a lot of opportunity in the military to learn the things you want to learn now, so that when you get out, you are ready to take over the world. I didn't realize that. There's speaking engagements, there's PDCs that you can go do. There's a lot of opportunity out there, but not many people see that, just because the environment that they're in, the friends that they're around, because the friends are trash in the military, and you're not really taking it for granted, because those friends are probably just sitting around playing on the Xbox and just wasting their life. There's nothing wrong with sitting on the Xbox, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? So take into consideration with that. But aside from that, I'm gonna close it out here. A mock-up video should have dropped as well, so I can't wait for you guys to see that. But yeah, from the top of the world, boundaries still don't exist, to the bottom of the depths where life still lives. Do you dare to dream? As a matter of fact, do you dare to take the next step? I'll see y'all later.